All right, good morning. Today we are looking at mission 2. We're looking at circles today, using our geometric formulas for circles for area and circumference. We're going to start off first by labeling the parts of the circle. So the point with the arrow pointing right to the middle, we call that the center of the circle. And this red line that I have here, this is the short one. We call this the radius. The distance to the center of the circle. And then the long one all the way across the blue one, we call that the diameter. So one thing to note, that our radius, two of our radiuses, like our radius could also go from here to here, or here to here, or here to here. It doesn't matter. A radius is from any point along the edge of our circle to the center point. If we have two radiuses, or radii, if we have more than two, if we have two of them, we could call that the diameter, because the diameter is always straight across through the center point. So note that our diameter goes through the middle. Just going to erase that there for a second. Our diameter goes through the middle. So this is not a diameter. That's nothing right now, okay? So our diameter goes through the middle, so two radiuses, like our radius could be here to here and here to here, make up the diameter. So we're going to find the circumference and the area of this circle, and this is actually a crop circle. So our circumference is the distance around the edge. So if you want to write circumference is the distance all the way around the edge, and the formula for our circumference is pi times the diameter, also known as 2 pi r, because our diameter is the same as 2 of the radiuses. So it doesn't matter which formula you use. If you have the radius, you can use this one. If you have the diameter, you can use this one. Or if you have the radius or diameter, you could either double it or take half of it, depending on which one you have, and we'll talk about that. And then our area of a circle, a formula is pi times r squared, pi r squared. So let's take a look at our first, I'm going to actually move these up here so we can have a little bit more space. Let's take a look at our first question. It says right here that our radius is 50 yards. I know this is our radius because it goes from the center to the edge of our circle. So I'm going to use this formula, circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius, which is 50. So now all I need to do is plug this into my calculator. And we do have a pi button on our calculator. It's the fourth button from the top right. Fourth button straight down on your calculator. So if we go down the calculator, it says second, then it says log, then it says ln, and then there's the pi button. So we're going to do 2 times, so in my calculator I'm plugging in 2 times, then I'm going to push the pi button. It's pi, not pie. Then multiply it again, and 50. And we get a lot of decimals. We're going to round to 2 decimals, or the hundredth. So to the hundredth, our circumference, or the distance around the edge of the circle, is 314 and 16 hundredths. 0.159 would round up to 0.16. So that's our circumference. It's a distance around, so we could put YD for yards as well. Then the area of our circle, area is pi times the radius squared, so pi times 50 squared. So I'm going to plug in my calculator, pi, push the pi button, times, our radius is 50, and then to get to the little 2 right there, you push the button right to the left of the 7, so here's the 7 on your calculator. The button right to the left of that says x squared. That's the button you want, okay? So this is the one that you want right here. Push that and you'll get the little squared. And we get an answer of 7,853. I'm going to move this here so I have some more space to write. 7,853. If we round to the nearest hundredth, or 2 decimals, 0.98. Why can't I get an 8 on there? There we go. And area is yards squared. Okay? We'll have a little bit more space on the next one to do some work. So I'm just going to write up here, circumference is 2 pi r, or diameter times pi diameter. And our area is pi r squared. Come on. Pi times r squared. All right, so area of this, we have pi times our radius squared. Now, we don't know what our radius is. We know the diameter is 80. We want to know what is the radius. The radius is half of the diameter, so 80 divided by 2 will give us 40. So I know my radius is 40. My diameter is 80. So instead of r, I'm going to plug in my radius, which is 40. So I'm going to plug in my calculator, pi, multiplied by 40, and then push the little x squared button to get the power of 2. Gives me 5,026 oopsies, what did I do? 5 if we round to the nearest hundredth, 2 decimals. And we could put meters squared because we're talking about an area. Our circumference is diameter times pi, or pi diameter. So we can push the pi button and then plug in our diameter, which is 80. Or you can push the pi button or do 2 pi r. Our radius was 40. Either way, 2 times 40 gives you 80, so you'll get the same answer. So if you just plug in pi times 80, pi times the diameter, okay, I wrote this backwards up here. We get 251.33. 251 and 33 hundredths. And we're talking about meters. Distance around the edge of the circle. Next, our area, pi r squared. So pi times our radius squared. Our radius we don't know. We know that our diameter is 25. So our radius, which is half of that, 25 divided by 2, gives us 12.5. So our radius is 12.5, and then we will need to square it. Oops, there's not enough space there. So in my calculator, I'm going to hit pi times 12.5 to the power of 2 gives me 490.87. We're talking about area, so we have centimeters squared. And then last, circumference. We can use either one of these formulas. If you want to use your whole number of 25, which is the diameter, we can use the bottom one. So pi times the diameter, which is 25, or 2 pi r. Either way, it'll give you the same answer. 2 times pi times r. I'm just going to do pi times 25, pi times the diameter, will give us 75.54. And we're talking about centimeters, so we can put centimeters on there. On your homework, it might tell you to round to the nearest tenth or hundredth. I honestly don't remember. So tenth would be 1 decimal, hundredth would be 2 decimals. All right, we have 2 questions left. This one, it says the top face of a hockey puck circle is a circle with a 1.5 inch radius. So here's the circle. I'm just going to draw a circle down here. And the radius from the middle to the edge is 1.5 inches. What is the area and the circumference of the top face? So area is pi times r times, or pi r squared to the power of 2. Circumference is 2 pi r. or, like we've said, pi times the diameter. So I'm going to do area first. Pi times radius, which is 1.5. Come on. To the power of 2. And that gives us, plug it in here, pi times 1.5 to the power of 2, 7.07. We're talking about inches, so inches squared. Okay, inches right there. So that's the area of the top piece, the top flat piece of the hockey puck. So now the circumference, the distance around, we have pi times the diameter. If you want to do the whole thing, 1.5 times 2 is 3 inches. So the whole thing across would be 3 inches. Or you can plug in 2 times pi times 1.5. And you get 9 and 2 decimals, 42 hundredths. We're talking about inches. That's a distance straight around, so just inches, no squared. Last question. It says a giant unicycle wheel has a diameter of 7 feet. So diameter all the way across from one side to the other is 7. If you want to draw a circle here so you can see better, there you go. What is the circumference of the wheel? So we're only looking for circumference right now, which is pi times the diameter, or 2 pi r. We already have the diameter, so let's just use this formula. Circumference is pi times 7. So pi times 7 gives us 21, oops, come on, 0.99. So if we were to round that to the nearest whole number, because we're going to need it for this next part of the question, we would round that up to about 22. We're talking about feet. So 22 feet would be the closest whole number around one time. So now they want to know how many rotations does it take for the wheel to travel 176 feet. So let's pretend from here to here is 176 feet. And your bicycle wheel starts here. They want to know how many times do you have to go in a circle. How many rotations does it take to get that full 176 feet? So we could take the total and just divide by our circumference. Like one full time around would maybe get us to here, then around again. We're figuring out how many chunks do we need to divide this into. So divide by 22. 175 divided by 22 gives us 7.95. So if we round it up, how many rotations? Well, 7.9 rotations, or about 8. About 8 rotations. All right, your homework is very similar to this. The front side, you have lots of circles where you just need to find area and circumference. And then on the back side, you have 4 word problems. Make sure you read if you are finding the area or the circumference. Some of the questions also have you use 3.1